Listen, Joe, this copier doesn't have toner in it, does it?
Yeah, why?
Well, I'm allergic to toner.
We have so much in common.
From a cast banned from awards shows to a future podcast king almost never landing the role, this beloved 90s workplace comedy harbored some seriously strange secrets. Behind the scenes of WNYX, Phil Hartman moonlighted as an album cover designer. The entire Friends cast showed up jealous to a taping. And Judd Apatow made a wordless cameo years before his Hollywood empire. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about NewsRadio. Fact 1. The entire cast got banned from awards.
Please, don't make a scene. We're not in New York.
We're not? You're kidding. Gee, and I almost mistook the Museum of Yarn for the Guggenheim.
The cast of NewsRadio earned themselves a permanent ban from the Screen Actors Guild Awards after attending just one ceremony, thanks to their spectacularly bad behavior that night. This wasn't just a case of mild mischief or running a little late. The entire ensemble managed to leave such a negative impression that they were told never to return to the prestigious awards show. While the specific details of what exactly transpired during that fateful evening have been kept relatively quiet over the years, the ban itself became one of the show's most legendary behind-the-scenes stories. The fact that the entire cast was banned together suggests it was a collective effort rather than one person's solo act of chaos. Given the show's reputation for having a tight-knit, fun-loving group of actors who genuinely enjoyed working together, it's not entirely surprising that their off-screen antics might have gotten a bit out of hand at a formal industry event. The ban only added to NewsRadio's reputation as a show that didn't quite fit into the polished, well-behaved world of 1990s network television. While other sitcom casts were carefully maintaining their public images and playing by Hollywood's unwritten rules, the NewsRadio gang apparently decided that one SAG Awards appearance was enough for a lifetime. The incident has become part of the show's cult legacy, representing the rebellious, slightly anarchic spirit that made the series so beloved by its devoted fans, even if it never achieved the mainstream success of other NBC comedies from that era. Fact 2. Ray Romano's two-day nightmare.
So that's when I discovered if I wore the eye patch on this eye, it would make the vision in this eye stronger, and vice versa. But I digress. What were we talking about?
Mayor before Ray Romano became everyone's favorite put-upon husband on Everybody Loves Raymond. He had a very brief and unsuccessful stint on NewsRadio that lasted exactly 2 days. Romano was originally cast to play the handyman character who would eventually become Joe Garelli. But during the first rehearsals for the pilot episode, it became painfully clear that his comedic style wasn't meshing with the rest of the cast. The problem wasn't Romano's talent. It was simply a matter of incompatible comedy styles. NewsRadio thrived on rapid-fire dialogue and quick-witted banter that moved at lightning speed, while Romano's approach to comedy was more laid-back and conversational, built on slow-burn observations and a relaxed delivery that had worked perfectly in his stand-up routines. After just 2 days of rehearsal, the producers made the difficult decision to let him go and find someone whose energy better matched the show's breakneck pace. Romano himself later admitted in interviews that he felt relieved when he got the call from his manager telling him he'd been fired, saying he knew deep down that he wasn't pulling it off and felt out of his league among the cast. The role was briefly filled by actor Greg Lee for the pilot episode, with the character renamed Rick, before Joe Rogan was ultimately cast for the series run. Looking back, Romano has acknowledged that being fired from NewsRadio turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to his career, because it freed him up to develop Everybody Loves Raymond, which would make him one of television's highest-paid actors. Fact 3. Friends cast crashed the pilot jealously.
Where?
In the break room.
What kind of table?
Table in the break room.
Order of arrival?
She's already there.
Time limit?
None.
Sucker. Come on, let's get it on.
When NewsRadio filmed its very first episode in front of a studio audience in 1995, the taping had some very special and reportedly very jealous guests in attendance. All 6 primary cast members from Friends showed up to watch legendary television director James Burrows work his magic on what NBC executives hoped would be their next big comedy hit. Burrows had directed the Friends pilot and nearly half of that show's entire first season, establishing the rhythm and tone that would make it one of the most successful sitcoms in television history. According to former NBC executive Carrie Burke, the Friends stars weren't exactly thrilled to see Burrows moving on to help launch another show. They had come to rely on his expertise and were apparently uncomfortable with the idea of him splitting his attention between their series and this new workplace comedy. At the time, NBC executives themselves weren't sure which show would become the network's bigger success story, Friends or NewsRadio. Both were ensemble comedies featuring talented casts and sharp writing, and both seemed to have serious potential to become ratings juggernauts. The network was genuinely torn about where to place their promotional efforts and which show would ultimately win over audiences. As history would prove, Friends became a cultural phenomenon that defined a generation of television, while NewsRadio struggled to find its audience despite critical acclaim. But on that night, when both casts were essentially in the same room, the future was still completely uncertain, and the jealousy the Friends cast felt about sharing their director was very real. Fact 4. Phil Hartman's secret career as album artist. Long before Phil Hartman became one of Saturday Night Live's most versatile performers and NewsRadio's biggest star, he had an entirely different career as a professional graphic designer specializing in album cover art. After graduating from California State University Northridge with a degree in graphic arts in 1974, Hartman started his own graphic design business and spent the next several years creating album covers for some of the biggest bands of the 1970s. His portfolio included more than 40 different album covers for artists like America, Poco, and Steely Dan, including Poco's 1978 gold-certified album Legend and Steely Dan's 1977 hit album Aja. Hartman even designed the iconic Celtic-style logo for the supergroup Crosby, Stills and Nash, though he never received an official credit when the design was used on their CD retrospective. Interestingly, Phil's connection to the band America came full circle during his time on NewsRadio. Boy. In one episode titled Bill's Autobiography, Bill McNeil discovers a recording of Dave Nelson singing the America song A Horse with No Name, which Lisa describes as Dave's obsession. The band America was actually managed by Phil Hartman's brother John, creating an unexpected family connection to the show's storyline. Even after Hartman left graphic design to pursue comedy full-time, he continued to draw as a hobby. His NewsRadio co-star, Stephen Root, later recalled to reporters that Hartman frequently drew on set between takes, unable to give up the artistic skills that had been his first professional passion. Fact 5. 9 episodes named after Led Zeppelin albums.
If you think I'm going to give you profit sharing, you are out of your mind.
I would not be so sure about that if I were you.
Oh, yeah, okay. You want to negotiate?
Bring it on.
All right.
Creator Paul Sims had such a deep obsession with the legendary rock band Led Zeppelin that he decided to name an entire string of NewsRadio episodes after their albums, turning the show's episode titles into a bizarre tribute to one of rock's greatest acts. The final 9 episodes of the show's second season all carried titles taken directly from Led Zeppelin's discography. But in a typically quirky NewsRadio fashion, they weren't presented in any logical or chronological order. Episodes bore names like Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin II, Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti, In Through the Outdoor, and Presence, among others. The random sequencing of the album titles was apparently intentional, reflecting the playful chaos that defined much of the show's creative approach. Sims' love for Led Zeppelin wasn't exactly a secret around the News Radio set. When the New York Times interviewed him to promote the launch of the series, the reporter specifically noted that Sims showed up to the interview wearing jeans and a Led Zeppelin t-shirt. The tribute didn't end with Season 2 either. In the show's third season, the writers created an episode titled Led Zeppelin Boxed Set, continuing the musical homage even after they had exhausted the individual album titles. This kind of deep-cut pop culture referencing was typical of News Radio's sensibility, appealing to viewers who appreciated the show's commitment to its own peculiar brand of humor. The Led Zeppelin episode titles became one of many inside jokes that defined the series, rewarding longtime fans who paid attention to details that had absolutely nothing to do with the actual plots of the episodes themselves. Fact 6. Judd Apatow's uncredited silent cameo. Years before Judd Apatow became one of Hollywood's most powerful comedy producers and directors responsible for hits like The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and countless other successful projects, he made a very brief and completely silent appearance on News Radio. In the classic fourth season episode titled Super Karate Monkey Death Car, which is widely considered one of the series' best and most quotable episodes, Apatow appears as an extra with absolutely no lines. He's simply visible in the background of one scene, not speaking or drawing any attention to himself whatsoever. What makes this cameo particularly strange is that despite having zero dialogue and barely any screen time, Apatow is officially credited as a celebrity guest star on the official DVD release of the season. At the time of his News Radio appearance, Apatow had only been credited in one television show and one movie, making his designation as a celebrity guest star somewhat premature and oddly prophetic. The appearance came through his connection to the show's writers and producers, as Apatow was part of the same comedy writing community that produced News Radio's sharp, fast-paced scripts. While his cameo went largely unnoticed by viewers when the episode originally aired in 1997, it has since become a fun piece of trivia for fans who enjoy tracking the early appearances of people who later became major forces in comedy. The fact that News Radio's production team thought enough of the young writer to give him an official guest star credit, despite his wordless role, suggests they recognized his potential long before the rest of Hollywood caught on. Fact 7. The show changed time slots 11 times.
Well, it's a goofy ball, Joe. It's a toy for kids. I bought a company that makes all sorts of crap like this.
Well, it's really...
News Radio holds the dubious distinction of being moved to different time slots an absolutely staggering 11 times during its 5-season run on NBC, making it one of the most frequently rescheduled shows in network television history. This constant shuffling around the schedule made it nearly impossible for the show to build a consistent audience or develop the kind of appointment viewing habits that turned other NBC comedies into massive hits. Every time viewers figured out when and where to find News Radio, the network would move it again, forcing fans to hunt through TV Guide or risk missing episodes entirely. The constant time slot changes were particularly frustrating because they came during an era when NBC's Thursday night comedy block, branded as must-see TV, was absolutely dominating the ratings with shows like Seinfeld, Friends, and Frasier. News Radio seemed like it should have been a perfect fit for that lineup, with its sharp writing and talented ensemble cast, but NBC never seemed to figure out where the show belonged in their schedule. Creator Paul Sims became increasingly vocal about his frustration with the network's handling of his show. The situation reached a boiling point when Sims gave an interview to Rolling Stone magazine near the end of the show's 4th season in 1997, expressing his anger in very blunt terms. Despite NBC's attempts to find the right audience for News Radio through all these schedule changes, the show never achieved the ratings success the network hoped for, though it maintained a devoted cult following that appreciated its unique brand of workplace comedy. Fact 8. Character names were all pop culture references. The writers of NewsRadio had a particular fondness for naming their characters after songs and musicians, creating a series-long inside joke that most viewers probably never noticed. The character of Jimmy James, the eccentric billionaire station owner played by Stephen Root, took his name directly from a Beastie Boys song called Jimmy James from their 1992 album Check Your Head. The receptionist Beth, played by Vicki Lewis with her distinctive bright red hair and sarcastic wit, was named after the classic power ballad Beth by the rock band Kiss. According to the show's production notes, Beth was also notable for claiming she had no last name, which became a running gag throughout the series. The character of Dave Nelson had his own naming story. Contrary to rumors that he was named after something connected to the Twin Towers, creator Paul Simms clarified that he simply wrote the role with Dave Foley in mind from the beginning, and Nelson was his mother's maiden name. The handyman character Joe Gorelli went through several name changes before landing on Joe, having been called Rick in the pilot episode when played by Greg Lee, and briefly being called Ted for a day or two of rehearsal after Joe Rogan was cast. The writers even revealed that the name was somewhat inspired by Drake Sather, a writer Simms had worked with on The Larry Sanders Show, who later joined the NewsRadio writing staff. This attention to pop culture detail extended throughout the show, with references to music, movies, and comedy woven into everything from episode titles to throwaway jokes. Fact 9. Scott Adams made a coffee shop cameo.
Could I have another shirt, please?
All right, let's see. I've got indigo, I've got sapphire, I've got sky, and standard blue.
Dilbert creator Scott Adams made a brief personal appearance in a third-season NewsRadio episode that centered around his famous comic strip, though his cameo was so understated that many viewers probably didn't even realize the real Scott Adams was on screen. In the episode titled Review, which aired in 1996, Andy Dick's character Matthew Brock becomes completely obsessed with the Dilbert comic strip after discovering it at a coffee shop. Matthew believes he's found some hidden gem that nobody else knows about and wants to do a special radio segment celebrating the comic, much to Dave Nelson's frustration. Scott Adams appears in the opening scene of the episode as an impatient customer standing in line at the coffee shop behind Dave and Joe, where he's officially credited as Guy in line behind Dave and Joe in first scene. His appearance is completely silent and lasts only a few seconds, with Adams looking appropriately annoyed at having to wait. Later in the episode, the plot takes an additional twist when Dave Nelson hires an actor to pretend to be Scott Adams as part of an elaborate plan to trick Matthew into coming back to work at the station after quitting. The real Adams was apparently a fan of NewsRadio and agreed to make the cameo as a way of supporting a show he enjoyed. At the time, Dilbert was exploding in popularity as it captured the absurdities of corporate office culture, making the comic strip a perfect fit for NewsRadio's own satirical take on workplace dysfunction. The episode became a memorable crossover between two of the 1990s sharpest commentaries on American work life. Fact 10. Stephen Root actually fell asleep during filming. During the filming of a late-night poker scene for NewsRadio, something completely unexpected happened that the crew decided to incorporate directly into the episode. Actor Stephen Root genuinely fell asleep in his chair while the cameras were rolling. The scene was being shot very late at night after a long day of filming, and Root, who played the eccentric billionaire station owner Jimmy James, was exhausted. According to behind-the-scenes reports from the production, the crew noticed that Root had dozed off in his seat during what was supposed to be an active poker game scene. Rather than waking him up and reshooting the scene, the director and crew made a creative decision to keep filming, capturing Root's authentic sleeping performance. The moment was incorporated into the final cut of the episode, with Root's real exhaustion becoming part of Jimmy James's characterization in that particular scene. This kind of spontaneous, improvised moment was fairly typical of News Radio's production style, where the cast and crew maintained a loose, collaborative atmosphere that allowed for happy accidents and unexpected comedy gold. Root was known for his complete commitment to the character of Jimmy James, bringing an unpredictable energy to every scene that made the billionaire station owner one of the show's most beloved characters. The fact that even his genuine fatigue could be turned into comedy speaks to both Root's natural talent and the production team's willingness to embrace the unexpected. The incident has become part of News Radio lore, though the specific episode featuring Root's real nap isn't always consistently identified in various retellings of the story. Fact 11. The penis episode was heavily censored.
Which one did you like the best, the tall one with the big breasts or the slightly taller one with the even bigger breasts?
The News Radio episode titled The Injury became one of the show's most controversial productions, spending over a year trapped in NBC standards and practices limbo before finally being allowed to air. Originally intended to be broadcast during the show's second season, the episode was held up because network censors had serious concerns about the script's repeated use of the word penis. The episode's plot apparently required the word to be spoken numerous times, which made NBC's Standards and Practices Department extremely uncomfortable, despite the fact that penis is a perfectly legitimate medical and anatomical term. The network insisted that the writers significantly reduce the number of times the word appeared in the script before they would allow the episode to be broadcast. After extensive negotiations and editing, The Injury was finally cleared for broadcast, but only after all of Season 3's episodes had already aired. The version that eventually made it onto NBC was the heavily censored cut with most references removed, and this edited version is what appears on the official DVD releases. However, in an ironic twist, the original uncensored version of the episode somehow made its way into syndication, where different standards applied and the complete script could be aired without NBC's restrictions. Creator Paul Simms defended the episode and his show's approach to potentially controversial material by pointing out that even the most contentious relationships on News Radio, like the constant antagonism between Dave Foley's character and Phil Hartman's Bill McNeil, were ultimately rooted in characters helping each other and maintaining respect. Fact 12. Creator's profanity-laced rant against NBC. By 1997, near the end of News Radio's fourth season, creator Paul Simms had reached his breaking point with NBC's treatment of his show and decided to express his frustration in the most public way possible. In an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, Simms unleashed a profanity-filled tirade about the network's handling of News Radio, particularly focusing on how NBC kept moving the show around to different time slots without giving it a chance to build an audience. Simms told the reporter that NBC had killed the show through their constant schedule changes, and he described the network's highly promoted Thursday night comedy lineup as being like a big double-decker shit sandwich with 3 good pieces of bread. The quote was remarkably blunt for a showrunner discussing his own network, especially during an era when most television creators maintained carefully diplomatic relationships with their broadcasters. After delivering this memorable insult, Simms briefly asked the reporter not to print the quote, but then quickly changed his mind with a fascinating bit of logic. He reasoned that since News Radio was already ranked as the lowest-rated sitcom on NBC at the time, coming in at a dismal 97th place overall, things literally could not get any worse for the show, regardless of what he said publicly. This moment of brutal honesty captured the gallows humor that had come to define News Radio both on-screen and behind the scenes. Despite Simms adopting a somewhat sunnier public attitude about NBC, for the following year, the damage was done, and low ratings ultimately led to the show's cancellation in 1999 after 5 seasons. Fact 13. Phil Hartman's Radio Inc. tribute became a prop.
Well, then what, Joe?
That girl Sheila, man, she loves you. She wants to go out with you tonight, huh? Who's your buddy? Who's your pal?
After Phil Hartman's tragic death in May of 1998, Radio Inc. magazine published a special cover featuring a tribute to the beloved actor and comedian who had brought Bill McNeil to life on News Radio. When the show returned for its emotionally difficult fifth and final season, the producers found a subtle but powerful way to honor Hartman's memory and keep his presence felt in the WNYX newsroom. The actual Radio Inc. magazine cover featuring Hartman's tribute was placed on Dave Nelson's desk and remained visible throughout the entire fifth season as a permanent part of the set decoration. The season premiere, titled Bill Moves On, depicted the show's characters returning from Bill McNeil's funeral and dealing with their grief over losing their colleague and friend. Rather than trying to pretend Hartman's death hadn't happened or simply writing the character out without explanation, the writers chose to address the loss directly and allow the remaining cast members to process their real grief through their fictional characters. The presence of the Radio Inc. cover on Dave's desk served as a constant, quiet reminder of both the character Bill McNeil and the real man Phil Hartman, who had been such an integral part of the show's success. It was a touching gesture that demonstrated the deep respect and affection the cast and crew had for Hartman, honoring him not with grand statements, but with a simple, visible memorial that acknowledged his continued importance to the show, even in his absence. The fifth season struggled both creatively and in the ratings as everyone tried to move forward without one of their most talented performers. Fact 14. Security guards inspired their own characters. In the second season of News Radio, two memorable characters named Lorenzo and Junior appeared in a pair of episodes as security guards working in the building where WNYX was located. What made these characters special wasn't just that they were played by rapper Tone Loc and actor Toby Huss, but that they were directly based on real people who worked at the actual studio where News Radio filmed its episodes. The production team spent so much time at the studio that they got to know the security guards who worked there, and apparently found them interesting and entertaining enough to deserve their own fictional counterparts. The writers created characters that captured the personalities and dynamic of the real guards, essentially giving them a tribute by writing them into the show's universe. This kind of meta-humor, where the show acknowledged its own production reality while staying within the bounds of its fictional world, was typical of News Radio's playful approach to storytelling. The guards appeared in 2 episodes during Season 2, giving Tone Loc and Toby Huss a chance to bring these workplace characters to life, with performances that were grounded in real observations of the actual security personnel. It's unclear whether the real guards who inspired Lorenzo and Junior ever saw themselves portrayed on screen, or what they thought of their fictional versions. This wasn't the only time News Radio drew inspiration from the people and places surrounding its production, as the show frequently incorporated real-world details and inside jokes into its scripts as a way of rewarding careful viewers and maintaining a sense of authenticity within its absurdist workplace comedy. Fact 15. 3 episodes short of syndication gold.
Bill, for the last time, stop fiddling with that. You're going to hurt yourself.
I think Joe ripped me off.
When News Radio aired its final episode on May 4, 1999, the series concluded with a grand total of 97 episodes across 5 seasons, a respectable run by most standards, but frustratingly short of a very specific and lucrative milestone. In the world of television syndication, 100 episodes has traditionally been considered the magic number that makes a show much more attractive to stations looking to purchase reruns for daily or weekly programming blocks. With 100 episodes, a syndication package can run for 20 weeks with 5 episodes per week, or provide enough variety to sustain viewer interest over extended periods without excessive repetition. Falling just 3 episodes short of this benchmark meant that News Radio missed out on what could have been significantly more profitable syndication deals and broader exposure through reruns. The show did eventually air in syndication on various networks including A&E, Nick at Night, and TBS. but the limited episode count may have affected how aggressively these networks pursued the show and how long they kept it in their programming rotations. The number 97 has become symbolic of NewsRadio's status as a perpetual near miss. A show that was always on the verge of breaking through to major success, but never quite got there. Like so many other aspects of the series, from its constant time slot changes to its ratings that never matched its critical acclaim, those missing 3 episodes represent NewsRadio's legacy as one of television's most respected underachievers, beloved by devoted fans, but never achieving the mainstream recognition or financial rewards it arguably deserved.